All right, let's get real for a second. What do you think the biggest communication mistake is that couples make? Is it avoiding tough conversations? Maybe it's getting defensive even when you know that you're in the wrong? Here's the classic: expecting your partner to be able to read your mind. Stay till the end and you'll discover which one is the worst one. But here's the truth that you need to know. We have all made these communication mistakes, and they're more common than you think. Let's uncover these mistakes, from minor missteps to major pitfalls, and how you can spot them. Communication mistake number one, something that we all do, is avoiding tough conversations. It feels easier, right? Why would you bring up something that's going to just cause conflict when you could just not? But here's the truth. Avoiding the conversation doesn't make it go away. It just makes it worse. Think about this. You're annoyed that your partner doesn't help with the chores, but each time you see them on the phone while you're scrubbing dishes, you just can't help it. Now, flip the script. Your partner senses that you've been distant, but avoids asking why because they're afraid that it's going to start an argument and lead to a fight. Both of you are stuck, frustrated, and disconnected. Does that sound familiar? Research calls this dynamic the demand-withdraw pattern. This is where one partner pushes, saying, "We never spend any time together, and it feels like you just don't care," while the other partner withdraws, maybe turning on the TV or simply walking away. But here's what's interesting. Those roles, they aren't fixed. You might be the demander today, but could very well be the withdrawer tomorrow. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about stress and vulnerability and how they shape the way we show up in our relationships. So how do you fix it? Well, you fix it by creating space for tough conversations. Literally, that's what you do. Set a regular talk time, maybe Sunday mornings over coffee. Just you and your partner. No screens, no phones, just the two of you having a conversation. Start small. Say, "Hey, I noticed we've been avoiding our budget this past month. Can we talk about it later tonight?" No blame, no ego, just a safe place to talk about your thoughts and feelings. When we make communication a habit, tough talks get easier. Biggest communication mistake number two, shutting down, aka stonewalling. Imagine your partner completely shutting down in the middle of an argument. It feels like you're talking to a wall, right? No emotion, no response, just silence. If you've been on the receiving end of this, you know how frustrating it is. You feel ignored, unheard, and like your feelings just don't matter. And if you're the one stonewalling, it might feel like it's the only way to protect yourself when things get heated. You don't want your partner to be mad at you anymore, but in the moment, you don't know how to handle it. So you just say nothing. It can feel like you're helpless, but trust me, you aren't. Here's the problem. Stonewalling, it doesn't solve anything. It just creates emotional distance. It builds walls instead of bridges. It might feel like a safe escape in the moment, but over time, it just leaves your partner feeling unheard and abandoned. People with higher attachment anxiety, those who fear abandonment, are much more likely to stonewall or to escalate conflict. A study that looked at 170 couples found that attachment issues explained 22% of behaviors like criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling. In other words, when fear drives conflict, it's harder to resolve, and the emotional strain just keeps on growing. So how do you stop stonewalling? Well, you stop it by taking a break. Not a forever break, just enough time where you can pause and give yourself time to cool off and think. For example, during an argument, you can say, "Hey, I just need 20 minutes to calm down. Let me talk when I'm ready." The important part is to commit to coming back to the conversation. Make sure your partner knows that you're not avoiding them, that you're just taking a step aside to self-soothe. When you come back to the conversation, you'll be calmer, more focused, and ready to listen. And if you like the video so far, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And now we're gonna dive head first into the biggest and worst communication mistake that couples make. Assuming your partner can read your mind. This one is the worst. Mind reading is when you assume that your partner can think or knows what you're feeling without even asking. It leads to misinterpretations, and those misinterpretations lead to conflict. Imagine this. You feel overwhelmed by the messy house, but you don't say anything. Your partner just keeps going about their day-to-day, completely unaware. You expect your partner to notice and help, but they're unaware and continue to go about their day-to-day. Instead of asking, you assume they noticed, but are choosing to ignore you on purpose. That assumption makes you snap. You might say, "Why don't you help me with anything?" Your partner looks surprised and says, "I didn't know you needed any help. Why didn't you just ask or say something?" And just like that, something that could have been a simple conversation turns into a full-blown argument, all because of unspoken expectations. Does this sound familiar? And here's the fix. Ask instead of assuming. It's just that simple. I know it's a hard habit to break at first, but just being aware that you're assuming makes it easier to catch over time. If you're unsure about something, ask a clarifying question. For example, if your partner says, "You seem distracted," don't assume the worst. Instead, ask, "Can you explain what gives you that impression or what's making you feel that way?" This clears up misunderstandings before they escalate. At the end of the day, we all make communication mistakes. Whether that's avoiding tough conversations, remaining silent or stonewalling, or even just assuming the worst. The key is to recognize these habits and take small steps to fix them. Now, I want to hear from you. What communication mistakes have you noticed in your relationship? Or is there something that you'd love to ask a therapist about? Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments section below, and I'll take the top 10 and do an upcoming video about them. Until then, I'll see you next time. Bye.